One of the most important concepts in object-oriented programming is that of inheritance. Inheritance allows us to define a class in terms of another class, which makes it easier to create and maintain an application. This also provides an opportunity to reuse the code functionality and fast implementation time. Understanding this, we have come up with this tutorial on inheritance in Python. Now, before we go ahead with the session, I'd like to inform that we have launched a completely free platform called as Create Learning Academy, where you have access to free courses such as AI, cloud, and digital marketing. You can check out the details in the description below.
Now we'll understand the concept of inheritance. So simply put, inheritance is when you derive some properties from something else. And a real world example of inheritance would be you'll be inheriting some of your features from your parents, and your parents will be inheriting some of their features from their grandparents. Or in other words, let's say you will sort of look like your parents in a way, and your parents might look like your grandparents in a way. So you're inheriting some physical features from your parents. Now, if we have to relate this concept of inheritance in Python, this basically means that we will have a child class and a parent class, and the child class would inherit some features or all of the features from the parent class. And we have an example of inheritance over here. So what we're doing is we are starting off by creating the parent class. So the parent class is called as vehicle. So we will have class of vehicle. And inside this, I have two methods. The first method is the default constructor. And in this constructor, I have two additional parameters, which are mileage and cost. And I am assigning the value of mileage. Then I'm also assigning the value of cost. And once this is done, I will go ahead and create another method called as show details. And inside show details, I'm printing out I'm a vehicle. Then I'll go ahead and print out the mileage of the vehicle. And also I'll print out the cost of the vehicle. So now that the parent class is ready, I would have to create an object of the parent class. So here I have v1 is equal to vehicle, and I pass in 500 and 500. So this 500 would denote the mileage of this vehicle. So this might basically mean 500 miles per gallon. Then we have the cost, which is 500 again. So this would mean that the cost of this vehicle is $500. So now that we have created this object, we can directly invoke the show details method with this object. So I have v1.showDetails, and as you have in the result, I'm a vehicle, mileage of the vehicle is 500 and cost of the vehicle is 500. Let's go to Jupyter Notebook and implement this. Let me delete all of these previous examples from over here. Let me keep it fresh. And I will create this new vehicle or new class called as vehicle over here. We will start off by creating the constructor. I would need the init method over here. And the first parameter is obviously self. After this, I would need the mileage of the vehicle, and I would also need the cost of the vehicle. Then I'll go ahead and set out these two values. So I'll have self dot mileage is equal to mileage. After this, I will have self dot cost is equal to cost. Now that I have created this constructor, I would have to show the details. So I will have show vehicle over here. And this will just have one parameter, which is self. And inside this method, I will go ahead and print out some basic things. So first I'll be printing out I am a vehicle. Then I will go ahead and print out mileage of the vehicle is. Here I'll have self.mileage. Then I'll go ahead and print out the cost. So I'll have cost of the vehicle is. Here I'll have self.cost. And this is how I have created this class. And after creating this class, I would have to create an object of it. So I will have v1 is equal to vehicle, and inside this I would have to pass in the mileage value first. So let's say this vehicle would give me around 120 miles per gallon, and the cost of this vehicle is around $800. So I have set these values over here. Then I can just go ahead and invoke the show vehicle method. So here I will have v1 dot show vehicle, and when I run this, we have an error over here. Let's understand what exactly is this error. So we have self.mileage, we have self.cost inside this. Vehicle object has no attribute mileage. So I'm setting mileage. Let me keep it over here. Now when I run this, so as you see, I have successfully printed out I'm a vehicle, mileage of the vehicle is 120 and cost of the vehicle is 800. So we have created our parent class. Now it's time to go ahead and create our child class. So to create the child class, we will again go ahead and give the name of this class, which is car. So we'll have class of car, and to inherit something inside the parenthesis. So as you see, this class, we did not have any parenthesis over here, but after this child class, we'll have a parenthesis, and inside this, we will pass in the name of the parent class, which is vehicle. And this child class will have a method of its own, which is show car. This takes only one parameter, which is self. And I'm going ahead and printing out I am a car with this method. Now, once I create this child class, I will create an object of it, which is C1. Now here, as you see, even though I don't have a constructor inside this child class, but I'm passing in some values. This is because since this car class is inheriting the vehicle class, this will automatically have these two methods inside it. So this car class will have the init method and also the show details method. So this car class will have three methods in total, which are the constructor from the parent class, then the show details method from the parent class, and also this show car method, which is explicit for this car class. Now, since this also has the constructor, we would have to pass in the values for the mileage and the cost. And as you see, I am passing in the value for mileage, which is 200, and the value for cost, which is 1200. Then I'll go ahead and invoke the show details method with the help of this object of the child class. So as you see, this object is of child class, but this method is of parent class. But since this child class inherits the parent class, that is why we are able to invoke this method. And when you see the result, we have I'm a vehicle, mileage of vehicle is 200 and cost of vehicle is 1200. And since we also have this show car method, which is part of the car class, we can directly invoke it. So when I have c1.showCar, I get the result I am a car. So we already have our parent class over here. Now let me go ahead and create the child class as well. So I will have class of car, and I'll have this parenthesis, and inside this I will pass in this vehicle class. Then I would have to go ahead and create a method which is explicit to the car class. So I will have def, and I'll name this method as show car. This takes in only one parameter, which is self. And inside this, I will have the print method, and I will go ahead and just print out I am a car. And when I hit on run, you would see that we have successfully created this class. So after creating this class, I would have to create an object of this. So I will have C1 is equal to car. And since this inherits this, this will also have a constructor. So I would have to pass in a value for mileage. Let's say this car would give me a mileage of around 300 miles per gallon. And the cost of this car is around, let's say $10,000. So I'll pass in these two values over here. Now that I have passed the values, let me invoke the show details method. This is actually show vehicle method, which is there in the parent class. So c1.showVehicle, and as you see, I have the result. I'm a vehicle. Mileage of the vehicle is 300 and cost of the vehicle is $10,000. And since we also have this particular method over here, I can go ahead and invoke it. I will have c1.showCar. This has to be small c. Now when I hit on run, you would see that I'm able to print out I am a car. Now we'll see how to override the init method in the child class. So in the previous example, we had created a child class where we had only one method over here. But what we'll do is we'll also have an init method in this child class. And this init method will take in 4 parameters. The first 2 parameters will just be the 2 parameters for the parent class. And since the vehicle class has mileage and cost parameters, I'll have them over here. I'll also have the self parameter, and I will add 2 new parameters for the car class itself. So I'll have tires and HP. Now to pass in the values for the super class or the parent class, I would need this super method. So I will write down super.init, which would basically mean that I am invoking the init method of the super class, or I am invoking the init method of the parent class. And inside this, I am passing in mileage and cost. So these are just values of the parent class which I am passing in. And after passing in the values of the parent class, I'll go ahead and assign the values for the child class as well. So here, as you see, self.tires is equal to tires. I am assigning the value of tires over here to the attribute of the car class. Similarly, I am assigning the values of HP over here to the attribute of the car class. And once I assign these values, I would have to show them out. So here I will have def of show car details, and I will print out I am a car. Number of tires are self.tires and value of horsepower is this. And after I create the template of this child class, I can go ahead and create an object of this. So here, as you see, I will have C1 is equal to car, and I given 4 values over here. The first value will be for the mileage of the vehicle class. The second will be the cost of the vehicle class. So here, as you see, I'm a vehicle. And when I invoke C1.showDetails, so here, even though showDetails is part of the parent class, I'm able to invoke this because car class is inheriting from the vehicle class. And here I have mileage of vehicle is 20 and cost of vehicle is $12,000. And I also have 4 and 300. And as you see, when I invoke C1.showCarDetails, I have the result I'm a car, number of tires are 4 and value of horsepower is 300. So I'll go ahead and create the parent class again and child class again over here. So I will have class of vehicle, and this will take in, this will have init method. So I'll write down def over here. I will write down init, and this will definitely have the self parameter over here. And this has 2 values, which are mileage and cost. Now I would have to assign these values. So it will be self dot mileage is equal to mileage over here. Then I will have self dot cost is equal to cost. And this is how I am assigning the values for mileage and cost. Once I do this, I would have to go ahead and print out the values. So I will have a new method for it. I will have def of show car details over here, and this will only have one parameter, which is self. And I will start off by printing I'm a vehicle, and after this we would have to print out the mileage of the vehicle is, the mileage of the vehicle is, here it will be self dot mileage. Then I'd have to also print out the cost. The cost of the vehicle is, here it will be self dot cost. And this is how we have created this template for the vehicle class. Now I'd have to create the template for the child class as well. So here it will be class of car, and since this is inheriting from the vehicle class, I'd have to pass the vehicle as the parameter inside this. And after that, I would have to override the init method. And since I have to override, I need to create an init method of the car class itself. And I'll start off by giving the self parameter. Then this will have mileage and cost for the parent class. Then it will have tires and HP, which are exclusive to the car class itself. And after this, I will invoke the super method. So this is, with the help of this, I'll be able to invoke the init method of the super class. So I will have super dot init, and inside this I will just pass in mileage and cost. And once I do this, I would have to assign the values for tires and HP. So it will be self.tires is equal to tires and self.hp is equal to HP. And now that I have created this init method or overridden this init method, I would need an explicit method for the car class itself. Let me give it a space over here. And this time it will be def of show car details, and I'll have self over here. And after this will actually only have self and nothing else. And I'd have to go ahead and print out I am a car. And after this, I'd have to print out the number of tires are. Here it will be self dot tires, and after that I'd have to print out the horsepower as well. So here it will be the horsepower is, and the value will be equal to self.hp. And now that I have created the parent class and the child class as well, I'd have to create an object of it. Here it will be equal to c1 is equal to car, and I'd have to given the value of mileage and cost. Let's say the value of mileage is around 30. So it would give around 30 miles per gallon, and the cost, I would say this is $5,000. And after that, let's say this car would have 4 tires and the horsepower of this would be equal to 499. And we have created the object of this. Now that we have also assigned the values, I can go ahead and invoke the methods of the parent class and the child class. I will have c1.show car details over here, and you would see that I have printed out I'm a car. The number of tires are 4 and the horsepower is 499. So these are the details of the child class or the car class. Now I'll print out the details of the parent class. So here I will have c1.show vehicle details, and when I print this out, this is, so seems like I've overridden this. I will keep the name as show vehicle details over here. So this method in the parent class will be show vehicle details, and this method in the child class will be equal to show car details. And once I have done this, you would see that I have this result. I'm a vehicle, the mileage of the vehicle is 30 and the cost of the vehicle is equal to 5,000. Going ahead, we'll look at the different types of inheritance. So we've worked with single inheritance. Now we'll see what is multiple inheritance and what is multi-level inheritance. So we'll start off with multiple inheritance, and in multiple inheritance, we'll have a child which inherits from more than one parent class. So let's say if you have a mother and a father, obviously you will have a mother and a father, and you would be inheriting some of the features from your mother and some of the features from your father. And thus what is happening over here is known as multiple inheritance. So as you see, if there's a child class, this child class will be inheriting some features from parent 1 and some features from parent 2. And this is what is known as multiple inheritance. And let's have a look at this over here. So we are starting off by creating the first parent class of parent 1. I have two methods over here. In the first method, I am assigning the value for string 1. So assign string 1, I have self and str1. And with the help of this, I am assigning the value for this attribute of str1 in this parent 1 class. Then once I assign the value for this str1, I'll go ahead and show out this value or return this value with show string 1. So in parent class 1, I'm assigning the value for string 1. Then I have parent class 2, and with the help of parent class 2, I am assigning the value of str2 first. Then I will go ahead and return the value of str2. Then I will have a child class. I will name this child class as a derived class. And this over here takes in two parameters, or in other words, this is inheriting from parent 1 and parent 2. And this again has two methods over here. The first method is assign string 3, and I am assigning the value for string 3 over here. Then I will go ahead and show it out. As you see, I am returning, or I am printing out self.str3. So parent class 1, parent class 2 and child class. And after that, what I'm doing is I am creating an object of the derived class or of the child class. And here I have d1.assign string 1. So even though assign string 1 and assign string 2 belong to the parent class, I'm able to invoke them because child class is deriving from both of the parent classes. So here I am assigning the value of 1 to string 1, I am assigning the value of 2 to string 2, and I am assigning the value of 3 to string 3. Once I given the values, I go ahead and show out the values over here. So d1.show string 1, I get 1, d1.show string 2, I get 2, and d1.show string 3, I get 3. Now this is a bit confusing. Let's go to Jupyter Notebook over here and let's create our two parent classes and one child class. So for this purpose, I'd have to given this keyword class, and I'd have to given the name of the first parent class, which is parent 1. And after this, I will create a method def, and I will name this method as assign str1. This will have two parameters. The first parameter will be self, next will be str1 over here. And I'll just write down self.str1 is equal to str1 over here. And once I assign the value, I'd have to print out this value or show out this value. So for that purpose, I would need another method. Here it will be show str1. And what I'll do inside this is this will only have the self attribute, and I would have to return the value of string 1. So this will be equal to return of self.str1. And you would see that I have created the first class, first parent class. Similarly, I'll go ahead and create the second parent class. This time it will be equal to class of parent 2. And here I will have def of assign str2. It will be self. I will have str2 over here, and I'd have to assign the value. This will be equal to self.str2 is equal to str2 over here. And I'll go ahead and create the next method. I will have show str2. I'll have self over here, and I'd have to return str2. And I have also created the second parent class. Now that both of my parent classes are ready, I can go ahead and create the child class. So here class of, I'll just name this child class as child because that is more intuitive. And inside this, I will be passing in both of the parent classes. I'll have parent 1 as well as parent 2. And now that I pass in both of the parents, I'll create one method exclusive for the child class itself. And inside the parent class, I'll be assigning the string 3. Assign str3 over here. This will have the self parameter. And I'll have str3 over here. And this is how I'll be assigning the value. Self.str3 is equal to str3. And once I assign the value, I would have to go ahead and print it out. So here it will be show str3. It will be self over here. And I will go ahead and I will return. So again, here I'd have to keep in mind that this is self of str2, and here again it will be equal to self of str3. And as you see, I have created all of the three classes, two parent classes and one child class, which is inheriting from these two parent classes. Now I can go ahead and create an object of this. So here I will have C1 is equal to child. once I have created this object, I can go ahead and invoke the methods. So I'll start off by invoking the method of the first parent class. So c1.assign str1. Inside this, I will pass in the value of 1 over here. Then I will go ahead and invoke the method of second parent class. This will be equal to assign str2. Inside this, I will pass in the value 2. Then I will go ahead and invoke the method of the child class itself, assign str3, and inside this I will pass in the value 3. Once I invoke all of this, then I can go ahead and print them out. So I will have show str1, and you would see that I have printed out 1. Then I will have c1.show str2. Then I would have, we have an error over here. So let's check this properly. Self.str2, we are assigning the value over here and we are returning this over here. c1.show str2, name str2 is not defined. So what I'll do is I'll run all of these again because I had added the self parameters, and this time we need to get the result. And this time, as you see, when I have c1.show str2, I get 2 over here. Now similarly, I'll go ahead and invoke the third string. So I will have c1.show str3, and this time when I hit on run, you would see that I get the result 3. So this is how we can implement multiple inheritance. Going ahead, we have something known as a multi-level inheritance, and you can consider multi-level inheritance to be grandfather-father-child relationship. And as a grandchild inherits his or her features from maybe his parents, and those parents inherit their features from their grandparents. So here you have multiple levels, and this is what is known as a multi-level inheritance. So here we have 3 classes. We start off by creating the parent class first, and in the parent class we are assigning the name of this person, and then we are showing out the name of the person. Then in the child class we are assigning the age of the person and we are showing out the age. And as you see, this child class is inheriting from the parent class. Then we have the grandchild class where we are assigning the gender and we are showing out the gender. And here you see that the grandchild class is inheriting from the child class. So here there are 3 levels. Child class is inheriting from the parent class and the grandchild class is inheriting from the child class. Now let's go to Jupyter Notebook and implement this. We'll have to start off by creating the parent class. I will have class, I'll have parent over here. And inside this, I will create a new method called as assign name. This will have self and then we will have name over here. And inside this, I'll just write down self.name is equal to name. This is how I'm assigning the name. Then I'd have to show out the name. And for that purpose, I will have show name. This will only have self over here, and I need to return self.name. And I have created the parent class. Now after this, I would have to create the child class. So here I will have class of child. I will create a new method over here and I will name this method as assign age. I will have self. I'll have age over here and I need to assign this age. So here it will be equal to self.age is equal to age. Then I would have to show out the age. I'll have to create a new method. This will be equal to show age. I'm writing down self over here and I would have to return this. So this will be equal to return self.age, and this child class is inheriting from the parent class. So that is why I'll pass in the parent class as a parameter to the child class. Then finally, I will create the grandchild class. Here I will have class of grandchild, and this grandchild class will be inheriting from the child class. This again will have 2 methods. The first method will be assign gender, and this is how I am passing in the two parameters. I'll have self and gender, and here I would have to set self dot gender is equal to gender. Then I will create a new method over here, show gender, and here I will only have self, and I would have to return this. It will be equal to return self dot gender. And now that I have created these three classes over here, I have my parent class, the child class, and the grandchild class. I can go ahead and create the object of the grandchild class. I'll call it GC, and I will invoke it like this. And once I create this grandchild class, I can assign the name, age, and gender. So I will have GC dot assign. Let me write it down again. So here it is GC dot assign name, and the name which I am setting or giving to this person is Bob. Then I'd have to give him some age. So here it will be GC dot assign age, and let's say Bob is 54 years old, and I'll also assign the gender. This will be equal to GC dot assign gender, and the gender is male. I have assigned these three things. Now I'd have to go ahead and show them out. So here it will be GC dot show name, and I am setting the name to be equal to, I don't have to give anything over here, I just have to invoke it, and as you see, I get the name of this person as Bob. Now let me also invoke the age over here, GC dot show age. You would see that the age of this person is 54. Then I will have GC dot show gender, and here as you see, the gender of this person is male.
This brings us to the end of this tutorial on inheritance in Python. Now before you guys sign off, I'd like to inform that we have launched a completely free platform called as Great Learning Academy, where you have access to free courses such as AI, cloud, and digital marketing. So thank you very much and have a great learning ahead.